I
Why are you
want to get
back?
cooked again.
Yeah, why are you back? You want to get cooked
Because
again?
it's just like easy. It makes me look good in the debate whenever I debate you because
Okay,
you're
you
so
support
bitchy.
Trump, right?
Absolutely, Donald
Cool, cool,
Trump,
cool.
MAGA 2028,
2028, perfect. Let me start the YouTube stream and
2032,
we can get started with the debate.
2036. It goes on for
Well, he's gonna
infinity.
be DEAD by then. So
No,
let's
he's
start the
not. No,
YouTube
he's
stream. As I
not.
go on YouTube, make
What's
sure
the
to hit the
argument for
thumbs up,
that?
hit that subscribe as you guys are starting to join up in. If you're already on TikTok, double tap that phone screen, repost the live, share the live, do all the wonderful things. We have Bat over here on the live stream supports Trump 2028, Trump 2032, all the above is what he claims. I have a question for you. Why do you support someone who's violated the fundamental value of America, aka the Constitution?
He hasn't. He's made
Yeah,
America
he has.
great
He
again.
violated the appropriations clause, the monuments clause, the elections clause, the declare war clause, the taxations clause, the take care clause, the First Amendment, Second Amendment, Fourth
But
Amendment, Fifth Amendment, Sixth Amendment, 10th Amendment,
but
14th Amendment, and possibly
wait.
the 22nd
But
Amendment. We can
Biden.
go point by point, but
But
why do you
Biden.
support him?
Biden. Because Biden is such a bad guy and Trump is such a good
Yeah,
guy.
Biden's a bad guy.
Biden's such a bad guy.
Yeah, you get two more Bidenism. So why do you support Trump, even though he's attacking the Constitution?
Because he's Chad. That's the first thing.
He's Chad.
He's Chad.
I'm sure you're also like a Hulu supporter, right? A Hollow supporter.
No, definitely.
No. You cut off your support for people when they rape 6-year-old children, but you support someone who rapes women, right? Yeah, you're cut off his children, but it's okay if men
No,
rape women, right?
Trump never raped
Yeah,
anybody.
Eugene Carroll.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did. You didn't want to talk about the Constitution
Wait,
because
what
you
makes you
are
think that?
dumb. So yeah, the civil court determined that.
Really? Would you let O.J. Simpson babysit your children since he's innocent?
What?
O.J. Simpson's innocent. Would you let him babysit
You,
your
you think
children?
O.J. Simpson? You think O.J. Simpson's innocent?
Well, that's what the jury determined, and you
The,
just
the,
said,
the,
"Oh, the
the,
jury
the
determined
criminal
that Trump
the
is
criminal court,
guilty,
sure, but the
therefore
civil
Trump is
court, he was
guilty."
found liable. He was found liable.
Okay,
I'm not sure
so
exactly for what, but
Trump
what does
is
O.J.
guilty
Simpson?
because
Hold
no,
on, what does O.J. Simpson have to do with Trump being held liable for
because when I
raping
asked you
Eugene
why is
Carroll?
Trump guilty, you said, "Oh, because the jury came to the verdict that Trump is
Yes,
guilty."
yes.
Okay, so because of that, now we can just use the same logic and say that, all right,
He was held
O.J.
liable.
Simpson is
O.J. Simpson was
innocent
held
because the
liable
jury
too.
came to the verdict that O.J.
Hold on,
Simpson is
that's a lie.
innocent.
O.J. Simpson was held liable.
No, he was actually innocent. He didn't unalive Ron Goldman and Nicole, whatever.
That's according to the criminal case, but O.J. Simpson was held liable in a civil case. I'm not sure exactly for what.
The point is, Buddy
On
did not go
February
to jail
4th,
for it.
1997, the Santa Monica, California civil jury unanimously found O.J. Simpson liable for the wrongful deaths of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald
Wrongful.
Goldman.
All right. So he was actually not guilty
He was
for.
found liable, and found
But
liable
then,
just
yeah,
means to
but
be
then when
found responsible
it
for.
went to trial, it went to trial,
In a civil court,
and
he was found responsible for.
okay, but then it went to trial, and he was innocent because he didn't do it.
Okay, no, according to this civil court case, that's not true. What does that have
Um,
anything to do with Trump? Stop pivoting. That's called Bidenism. You have one more
no,
person to pivot to.
I'm not a Bidenist. First of all, I'm actually
No, you're
anti-Bidenist.
doing a logical fallacy called Bidenism. You said when I addressed the
I've never heard
Constitution,
of that
you
logical
said, "Yeah,
fallacy.
I'll
Can you tell
explain
me
it to
more
you." So
about
when
it?
I talked about the Constitution, your first thing was Biden, right? That's called Bidenism. Whenever you use Biden, Obama, or Bill Clinton, or anyone else to pivot away from Donald Trump, that's what's called Bidenism, right? It's a logical fallacy. So you already did it with Biden. Now you're doing it with O.J. Simpson. You have one more person to do the logical fallacy, Bidenism. So make sure to address all the points that I made. We can talk about the Constitution. We can talk about the rape case. But the fact is, everything that I said, it has been true so far. And you have just been spewing nonsense. Go ahead, take it away, respond.
Yeah. So I think that he's done some good things, especially because he affirms that trans women are not women.
I already
He's
cooked you on
against.
that. We're not talking about that. Next point.
Well, I slammed you on that. An abortion, I guess.
We're not talking about abortion. Are you a man?
Yeah, I am a man.
Cool. I'm also a man on this stream. If two men are debating, we're not going to be debating
Wait,
abortion.
why can't men talk about abortion?
Yeah, that's just the rule on my stream. If
I
you
know, but
want
can
to
you
talk
tell me?
about
Can you just tell me
abortion,
why men can't, like men
because it's my
specifically?
stream and I can choose to do whatever I want on my stream.
Well, you don't want to answer the question because you know I'm going to cook you.
No, I can choose to talk about what I want to talk about on my stream. One of the boundaries
Wait,
that I uphold typically is going to be that I don't debate abortion because I cannot give birth. Okay?
oh, so men cannot give birth?
I cannot give birth, buddy.
No, but you said two men cannot. You said
I
you'd be
said
fine
I
talking
cannot
about it
give
to another
birth.
woman, right? But you said I'm not going to talk about it with another man.
Yeah, I said
And
typically,
then the
yes,
reason why
typically.
is because they cannot give birth. So trans men are not men because
Keyword
trans men
typically.
can give birth. Men cannot
Keyword
give birth.
typically.
Conclusion: trans men are not men. Boom, cooked. You got absolutely baked. You got
that
smoked,
was
buddy.
that was a good one, but you fumbled because keyword. I said typically. I typically do not do this action, right? I said I typically do not debate abortion with men. That's what I said. Keyword typically, because there are some exceptions. There are some exceptions to the rule, but I typically do not debate abortion with men. So nice one
Wait,
there, but you fumbled the whole point
what's the
because you missed
difference
that
between a
one keyword.
trans man and a
Typically,
man?
we're not talking. I already cooked you on the trans topic weeks ago,
What's
buddy.
the
You got
difference?
absolutely destroyed. So if you want to talk about abortion, I can give you my points on abortion that have nothing to do with the actual process. More so the fact the economic issues, right? If you want to reduce the amount of abortions, you should have social safety nets, aka liberalism or progressivism, in place so that new moms are capable of going through with the pregnancy. Because when you see most of these abortions happen because of financial insecurities. So if you want to reduce the amount of abortions, you want to have better financial social safety nets for these women, and you'll see a decrease in amount of abortions. Also, you claim that you support Donald Trump because of abortions, because you're pro-life. That contradicts the fact that 14 million people, 4.5 of them, 4.5 million of them being children, are going to die all throughout the world because Donald Trump defunded USAID. That contradicts the fact that Donald Trump and the U.S. military bombed and killed 164 schoolgirls in Iran. That contradicts all of these different points. 50,000 U.S. Citizens that died due to the lack of access to healthcare, right? That contradicts all of these points. You're not pro-life.
Let's
You're
take it one step
pro-controlling
at a
women.
time. So when you say that, all right, well, this child is going to grow up in poverty or whatever, and say that a mother does not have the financial means to support their child, therefore, the best case of action would be for this mother to get an abortion. Now, I want to ask you this. Do you think that if this child was born and is living, a malnourished life, a life, of poverty, it would have been better for this mother to get the abortion?
You didn't understand anything I said. I'm not going to debate abortion with you. I told you.
So if it is okay that if it is the case that they should have gotten the abortion, do you think
My
that
point is, do
all
you want to
children
decrease
who live in a
abortions?
poverty household,
Do you want to decrease abortions? Yes or no?
do I want to decrease them? Yeah, I would
Yes.
like to decrease
Can
the
you agree
number
that
of
most
abortions.
abortions happen because of financial insecurities? Yes or no?
That's what's like said, yeah.
Cool. So if you want to decrease abortions, and most abortions happen due to financial insecurities, it is the case to decrease abortions, you have to attack it at the core issue, which is to implement social safety nets to help these new
No, no,
moms
no, no.
so
I
that they
don't
don't
think.
have that financial insecurity.
Okay,
Thank you for
no,
conceding to my
I don't
point.
think
Have a
financial.
great day.
Well,
You are
no.
DUMB. Get out of my live stream. I've cooked you like 3 different times. Moving on to the next. Yes, I brought him up to just like troll and mess with him.
Good, good. How you doing?
Good, good, good. Do you support Trump?
Yes, I do.
Perfect, perfect. Where are you from?
New
What state?
York.
New York, New York. Do you consider yourself a patriot?
Patriot, such as voting for America, of course.
Yeah, an American patriot, of course. You do
I was
you
born
would
in
you
Brooklyn. I'm for Trump. Trump is a person who's like, he's a boss. He's a leader. We had
right,
Joe Biden here, was basically an empty suit, and
right,
everybody else was running the country. It
right.
was a free for all. Nobody respected us.
Oh
He's a
yeah, no,
little
of
bit of,
course. Of course. I
yeah.
completely agree with you there. Definitely Biden was not running the country. It was a free for all. No one respected us. But you said you're an American patriot, right? You are an American patriot. Would you agree that an American patriot upholds and defends the American Constitution? Yes?
Yes.
Cool. What if I told you that Donald Trump has violated 5 different clauses of the Constitution and at least 7 different amendments of the Constitution? Would you still support him?
You got to go into detail and
Of
tell me
course.
what I
Oh, looks like you have that MAGA
think. So
mobile.
you'll keep in mind that was made many years ago. I mean,
Of course.
they don't take in consideration, same sex and a lot of things.
Right, of course. But let's talk about it. You said let's go into detail. So first, I'll name off the things that he has violated in the Constitution. It might seem like a lot, but we'll go point by point. First off, the Appropriations Clause, the Elections Clause, the Declare Wars Clause, the Take Care Clause, the Taxation Clause, the Monuments Clause. He's violated the First Amendment, Second Amendment, Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment, Sixth Amendment, 10th Amendment, and the 14th Amendment, and possibly the 22nd Amendment if he decides to run for a third term. Which point would you like to start on?
But what about Bloomberg, New York City? Where are you? Where are you?
In
What state are
Arizona.
you in?
I don't really know much about New York City.
Okay, well, Bloomberg, you have Michael Bloomberg. He ran for an extra term and had them amend the law to cater to him, so he was able to do 3 turns. and
Right.
this is no
The point is
different.
here the Constitution says the president can run for 2 terms and they cannot run as vice president if they cannot run as president, which means that yes, it
Unless
would have to get
amended.
amended, but obviously that will never get amended ever. But that's why I said
It's
possibly, right? So I don't want to
never.
focus on the 22nd Amendment because that's a possible violation. It has not been violated yet. I want to focus on the 5 different clauses and the multiple other amendments that he has violated. Do you want to start with the first clauses? The election clause. Do you know what the election clause is?
Give me the details.
Yeah, I got you. So the election clause, I can give you the exact one. The election clause gives states the power to run congressional elections, but Congress can change or regulate those rules found in Article 1, Section 4 of the Constitution. So
A lot of
that is
stuff
the
is a
election
lot
clause.
of stuff is old and outdated. Trump's a person who's an achiever. Come on, we're living in different times. We got, you know, the Chinese are way out of line. They're dangerous with their robots. I mean, there's a lot going on. Well, you put
What does that
Jeffrey
have to do with
Epstein.
him violating the elections clause?
Listen, everything's up for grabs these days. I know you're a young kid and all, but this is 2026. Times are changing. If you don't realize it, the whole world's being remapped. We're going to take over Cuba, or at least make it Americanized, and we should. They're on our back door. You know, you got China, who's a devil. You can't trust China. I mean, they use
What would
they
make
got
you stop
puppeteers
supporting
like.
Trump? Because you said if Donald Trump violated the Constitution in multiple different ways, you would not support him. I was able to name all the reasons as to how he violated. Obviously, we didn't go into details. I tried to go into details, but you pivoted to China. So it looks like that's not a reason to stop supporting Trump. So why? What is one reason that would make you stop supporting Trump? Give me one reason.
Who do you think is a better candidate than Trump?
In terms of literally anyone, I'm pretty sure you would be a better candidate.
Oh, come on, be realistic.
No, I'm serious.
I
I'm
don't
being
I don't
realistic. In
see
terms of the
I don't
2024
see a
election, Harris was
Democrat.
definitely better. Harris was better, 100%.
Oh my God.
But
She
that's not
gave
even answer my
money
question. My
to
question is,
Beyonce.
what would make you
She
stop
gave money
supporting
to
for Trump?
Beyonce for fake support.
It's not
And
Beyonce. It was Megan Thee Stallion. But okay.
yeah, it was fake support. I mean, it was such a joke.
No,
She was
Megan Thee Stallion is
she
amazing.
has
What?
no achievements.
Okay, what about Donald Trump going to Nick Fuentes, Aiden Ross, Logan Paul? These these red pill influencers.
Listen, the first time out, Donald Trump had a hard time. He had a lot of traitors on his side. He learned a lot. He was much
What does that
better
have to do? The question I
prepared.
asked you is, what would make you stop supporting him? What is
Look how
one
he
thing that he
was
could
set
do?
up. Do you know how many times was the guy set up in so many different states? He was set up in New York State,
No,
all
he wasn't.
because he was. He
The
went and he
34
had
felonies,
his,
those were valid felonies.
yeah,
The rape case,
valid. I'll give
valid.
you valid. Yeah, I know you're too young to know about this stuff, but
I do.
honestly, he was set up. All he did in Westchester County was dispute his taxes. It's very
No, that's
common
not what he did.
when
He
customers.
misclassified business records, predicate with
No,
another crime. He misclassified the
listen,
money that
Chase
he sent to
Bank,
Stormy Daniels.
Chase Bank gone ahead and says we would lend them the
He was
money
also sued in
again.
the 1970s for not renting to black people. It turns out the fact that whenever the government got involved and they sent a white person and a person of color, the white person would get
Nobody wanted
approved.
to rent to black people in the
The white
70s.
person would get approved. The person of color would not get approved. In fact, they would put a C on the paperwork that they gave, implicating or implying colored. So he was sued for that, right? But then he settled. He
You
was also
weren't here in the
he was sued
70s,
for
so you don't know
defamation and
much
sexual
about it.
abuse. He's violated gag
Everybody,
orders. He violates the law and many. He
you
violates the
know,
Constitution.
what's the old story? You can indict a hamburger, right? And anything can be indicted.
Okay,
It doesn't
what's
mean
the reasonable
anything.
doubt? Again, so in order for you to say this is like false, this was an attack on him. What is the
Listen,
reasonable doubt?
here's the woman in that fancy department store. She comes out of the closet 30 years later
Yeah.
and claims that he sexually assaulted her, which
Yes.
is the biggest bunch of bullshit.
That's not
30
bullshit. But
years, he
what's the
waited.
reasonable doubt? You're just telling
But
me the story.
listen,
What
well,
is
let
the
me
reasonable
finish it.
doubt?
She waited 30 years to bring her
Okay, do you
so-called
realize some?
story
Hold on. Do
to
you realize some people
surface.
don't even come out? You do know most victims don't even come out. They don't even come out. Why? It's because of people like you
30
who don't believe
years
victims. It's
later,
because of the social.
no.
It's because of the social implications of when a victim comes out.
I
You guys
listen.
blame the victims. What was she
I
wearing?
could
What was she doing? Why
see.
was she there?
I could see if you're a boy or a girl underage with a priest or something, and you were underage. She wasn't underage. She
It
could
was
have came
still
out at
rape.
any time.
It was still rape. What? It doesn't matter
Listen,
if they were
it
underage.
took her
It was
30
still
years
rape.
and waited till he got to the White
Yes. Do you
House
know why it took her 30
confronted
years?
because she was just looking to screw him up. That's why,
No.
with the
So first off,
Democrats
there's
were
a couple different
behind
points
it.
here. If someone rapes someone, that
30
person who
years
got raped.
later,
Hold on. If someone rapes someone and the person who raped the other person runs for office, the person who got raped would most likely want to tell the whole world, like, hey, this man that's about to become the most powerful man in planet Earth raped me.
no,
Don't elect him. That's
Right.
actually valid. First point. Second point. The reason why she waited 20 years is because of her parents. She didn't want her parents and her family to be dragged through the mud of people saying she's lying. She didn't get raped. Blah blah blah. This and that. Just how you're
He's
doing on this
always
live
been
stream.
a public figure.
But the implications of
He's
her
always
saying that
been a
she got
public
raped
figure.
would be coming from the society as a whole, condemning her instead of the rapist. And then you said children. Sure, he sexually exploited children. He admitted to this in 2005.
I never
Yeah,
heard
you've
that
never
one.
heard that one. Let me play it to you.
No, I mean, some of these foreign girls, you know, Mr. Trump, in my country, we say hello with the vagina. And
Well, you could also say, as the owner of the pageant, it's your obligation to do that.
so you have done that. Now, tell
Well,
me
I'll
what-
tell you the funniest is that I'll go backstage before a show.
Yes.
And everyone's getting dressed and ready and everything else. And, no men are anywhere. And I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant and therefore I'm inspecting it. I'm inspecting. I want to make sure that
You're like a
everything is
doctor.
good.
You're there.
Yeah, the dress. Is everyone okay? They're standing there with no clothes. Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible looking women. And so I sort of get away with things like that.
So there, not only did he admit to sexually exploiting women, but we also have victim testimonies of Maria Belgado, who was 18 at the time, and Miss Teen USA, who said that there were some girls as young as 14, 15, and 16 years old. The victim testimonies corroborate his admission of guilt.
That's a serious accusation. It needs to be backed up and proven. It
He
can't be
admitted
just
to it. Wait,
talked
hold on.
about.
What's more proof than victims
No, he
coming
said-
forward and
he
him
said
admitting to it?
18 is
What more
legal.
do you want?
18 is legal, and these people are show
Okay,
people.
Even
This is
even
what they
if
do.
even if
They're
18 is
showing
legal,
off.
quote unquote. Hold on. Even if 18 is legal, first off, it's weird for a 50-year-old to be looking at a 18-year-old naked. I personally find that morally wrong. Sure, it's legal, but they did not consent to this, so it is still sexual exploitation. They could have been 50 years old. If Donald
They
Trump
did
walked back
consent
there,
to it.
they
You're gonna
did
tell
not
me
consent.
Yes, they did, because if they're in the back and they're being a public figure, they're going
No,
on
they
the
are in the
show.
back in a private women's dressing room where no men are
Listen,
around.
You're using a double standard because it's Donald Trump. You
If
gotta be
anyone
fair.
walks into a private woman's or man's dressing room and they're not a man or a woman, and they go in there and abuse their position of power by saying they're inspecting the place, and then they watch the quote beautiful naked bodies of said people, and then they say
You
they get
weren't
away with
there
things
and
like
I
that,
wasn't
it's
there.
not double
You
standard.
can't
Anyone who
talk
does
into
that is
great
sexually
detail.
exploiting them.
You're talking into detail as if you or I were there. I mean,
We look at
can't-
what he's saying. We don't need to be there. He described what he did verbatim.
He's saying that he goes behind. That's common and customary. Where
No, it's not common
management-
for a man
yes,
to
it
go into a
is.
woman. Have you gone into a woman's
Because
dressing room?
managed people, yes. Do you think the performers on Broadway that stage management isn't going back there in the dressing room? What do you
You've
mean,
gone
where do you
to a
live in
woman's.
the
Hold on,
fantasy
hold on.
land?
You've been inside a woman's dressing room.
I mean, you're living in fantasy land. If
Why?
these people are
Why?
stage people, these people are getting changed in front of tons of people.
No,
They don't
They
care.
perform. Hold on. They perform in front of people.
You don't
but when
know
they're
the business.
backstage in a dressing room, when
In
they're
the
naked and
backstage-
getting dressed,
Not
they
naked.
they
They're
do
probably
not
have
have
their underwear
men
on.
do not have
But
consent to go
today-
back there.
And today, guys walk around in their boxes and answer their front door. It's like it's not as crucial as Yeah.
It's still, if a man goes into a woman's only space and watches them while they're naked, that is sexual exploitation. It's as simple as that.
He didn't say he can go there and watch them. He says he goes backstage
Pageant,
because
it's your
he's
obligation
management.
to do that.
So you have done that. Now, tell
Well,
me
I'll
what-
tell you the funniest is that I'll go backstage before a show.
Yes.
And everyone's getting dressed and ready and everything else. And, no men are anywhere. And I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant and therefore I'm inspecting it. I'm inspecting. I want to make sure that
You're like a
everything is
doctor.
good.
You're there.
Yeah, the dress. Is everyone okay? They're
Yeah,
standing there with no
he
clothes.
says
Is
he's
everybody okay? And you
inspecting
see these
it.
incredible
Maybe he wants
looking
to
women.
make sure that these are performers that are going to perform
That
in
way,
his
that
show.
is the reason. So, what makes it sexual exploitation is because he abused his position of power. He said because he's the owner of these pageants, he has to inspect these places. That is an abuse of position of power. Okay, he said he inspects it. This is Howard Stern in 2005.
No,
he said
now
that they
you're
were
going
naked and
into
had
a
no
gray
clothes on.
area.
And then hold on, if he was doing
You're
his job
giving
and
your
just
own
hold on,
interpretation.
if he was doing his job and just inspecting the quote dressing rooms, why would he be getting away with it? What would he be getting away with if he were doing his job? Because typically when someone says they got away with something, it's typically something negative or so they did something wrong. Example, if I say I got away with stealing a cookie, I got away with doing something bad, aka stealing the cookie, right? In this
You're
instance, he said he
assuming-
gets away
you
with
know
it.
what happens when you assume, right?
But he said himself he gets away with doing things like that. In
He
previous,
gets away with a
what
lot of
things?
stuff. That doesn't mean it's detrimental. It's unlawful.
No, it is. It's sexual exploitation because he abused his position of
No, I
power
don't
to
agree
get away
that
with things
at all.
like that.
Absolutely not. You're saying because he goes back to the
Into a dressing room.
to the dressing room,
Woman's
where the
only dressing
showgirls
room.
are, and they're getting ready to perform, and he's management, and he goes back and he's talking to them. That's somewhat it's unacceptable. I don't agree with that because
It's
he's
sexual
going back there.
exploitation. Let me
Listen,
give you a
when he's-
hypothetical. Let me.
One
Are you
second,
married?
When,
Hold
when
on.
they sign up for the
Hold on.
job,
Hold on.
they know that it's
Okay, sure.
it's,
Provide me proof that they consented and they signed a document saying that Donald Trump, the owner of the pageant, could walk backstage into a women's only dressing room. You made the claim
better
that
have
they know
that
what they're signing up
pre-planned
for,
document.
right? So if
Listen.
Donald Trump did this, provide me the document that they signed. Go ahead.
You're gonna
They
tell
didn't
me
sign
that
any
it's
document
not
for that.
common and
Let
customary.
me ask you an analogy. Let
management.
me perform an analogy. Do you have a loved one? Are you married?
Yeah.
Cool. Let's say your partner was at Kohl's, right? They were in the dressing room at Kohl's. Under your worldview, let's say the owner of Kohl's walks in. It is justified to walk into the dressing room while your partner is getting changed and naked
That's-
because they own the dressing room, right? And because
Support-
your partner knew what they were getting into when they walked into the dressing
No,
room, right?
reason being it's not a good analogy. Reason being is that these people are performers. You got
Yes,
to take
performing. They
consider-
consent to
when
hold
they're
on. Hold on.
performers,
There it
there's
is.
nothing-
Hold
there's
on. They
nothing-
consent to performing. They consent to performing. But when they are in a private women's only dressing room, they are not performing. Do you see the difference? We're not talking about the performance. We're talking about in the dressing room. So the analogy is absolutely valid. Both scenarios, the women are in the dressing rooms. Both scenarios, the
Have you
owner
ever
walks
gone
into the dressing
in the
rooms. And
rear
in both
of,
scenarios,
like,
you
a
should think it's
blood
okay.
flow dressing room? These are open. Those are open areas.
It's a
It's
private
not a
women's
private
dressing room.
area.
Hold on. If it
These
was
are-
open air, hold on.
No.
He said there were no men around. If it was an open area, why weren't there men around? Typically, it's expected for men to be around backstage, right? So if it was a general backstage area, why were there no men around? Like for the cameras, right? For the cameras, I get the back
There won't be a
POV.
camera maybe back there.
But he
it'll
said
be
there
an
were no
open
men
area
around.
a
He
little
said that
bit.
himself. He said they were no men around. That's how we know it was a private women's dressing room.
I don't know if it's a private women's dressing room.
He said there were no men. I can play it.
Backstage before a show.
Yes.
And everyone's getting
Those
dressed and
areas.
ready and everything else. And,
yeah,
no men are
yeah.
anywhere before a show.
Yes.
And everyone's getting dressed and ready and everything else. And, no men are anywhere. And I'm allowed to go in. Everyone's getting dressed and ready and everything else. And, no men are anywhere. And, no men are
Doesn't
anywhere.
surprise me.
And, no
He's
men
the
are
owner.
anywhere.
I mean,
Oh,
I
he's
used
the
to
owner,
go to
right?
the Trump Marina and
Wait. So why is it justified for him
Yeah,
to go
like the
backstage?
Trump Marina, the whole
Hold on. Why is it justified for him to go backstage into a dressing room? Why?
because he wants to see who's going to be entertaining.
That's not a justification to go in a private women's dressing room.
And I'm
Let's say
sure
that.
if
Let's
it was
say that as justification. In the same analogy, the owner of Kohl's walks into your partner because they want to see who's in the
forget
dressing
about
room,
the
to see
owner of
who's in the
Kohl's.
store. Therefore,
There's
you're
no such
okay with
thing.
the owner of
There's no
Kohl's
such
walking
thing as
into
an
your
owner of
partner.
Kohl's. It's stockholders.
But
There's no
therefore,
owner of
under your
Kohl's. It's
worldview, you
stockholders.
think it's okay for the owner of Kohl's to walk into your partner's dressing room while they're changing to make sure the owner knows who's in the store, right? Right. That's the same analogy, right? You think
No,
that
it's not.
you think the owner of Kohl's can walk into your partner's dressing room to make sure the owner knows
The
who's
owner
in the
of
store.
Kohl's is stockholders. It's not an individual.
Okay, that
And Donald Trump is he's like the manager of a Broadway show. He goes
he's
back
the
and
owner
he
of the
wants to see
pageants.
who's going to be performing. Just like he
Yes,
had TV shows.
hold
He
on.
has
They
the
do
right
that
to
in
go
the
back
general
there.
backstage
And I'm
area.
sure
Hold
if it
on,
was
hold on,
unacceptable, you could open your mouth and say, "Get the hell out of my room."
hold
But
on. They do
the
that. No, they
chances
do that.
are they didn't say anything.
They
And
did.
now, since he made it to the White House, now people want to say stuff. But talk is cheap. People try to shoot him down all day long, but I'm glad we have him in the White House
Let's
because at least now we have strength.
let's hear from pro-Trump victims. Let's hear from the testimonies of the victims.
Rolling right in. There was no second to put a robe on or any sort of clothing or anything. Some girls were topless, other girls were naked.
As Miss Arizona 2001, Tasha Dixon competed in the Miss USA pageant. Donald Trump owned the contest along with Miss Universe and Miss Teen USA for 19 years.
Our first introduction to him was when we were at the dress rehearsal and half naked changing into our bikinis. To have the owner come waltzing in when we're naked or half naked in a very physically vulnerable position, and then to have the pressure of the people that work for him telling us to go fawn all over him, go walk up to him, talk to him.
And Dixon has
On the pageant for the reason to utilize his power to get around beautiful women.
Dixon, who lives in West.
There's no one to complain to. Everyone there works for him.
The year she competed, the theme was empowering women.
I'm Miss Arizona, so I veer more on the conservative side, but I just like to choose what's right.
Dixon tells me testament from the state asked women to come and press
All right,
Mr. Trump.
now
as
we're
someone
talking
carrying
about
praise
this.
on-
This victim is a hold on. So what we know is this victim is a conservative who says Donald Trump
Okay,
abused his
and
position of power
when
to
was
walk
this
backstage
done?
before
What
a
year?
show.
What
One
year?
more time.
What year was this alleged?
2001.
So you're talking 20-something years ago. When did she decide to surface?
It's still wrong.
with
It's
the
still
story?
hold on. It doesn't matter
No,
when.
but I'm just saying, no, come on. We have to, sometimes you got to look through the smoke and you got to see what you think is right or wrong. People got motives for everything. People do things for a reason. Another
But
storyteller.
hold on.
for
She's a
25
conservative,
years.
and Donald Trump admitted to this. Donald Trump admitted
I
to
don't
exactly
doubt
what the
it, but I
victim
don't think there's
said.
anything wrong with it.
You're
It's
delusional.
25
You are
years later.
delusional. You're saying they have motives. You're saying they wanted money. They wanted more. They wanted
No, they're not
to
going
be
to get
known.
his money. He's not giving them
They
to him
didn't have a
anyway.
motive. The motive of coming out was to corroborate what Donald Trump admitted to. He admitted to doing this.
Because he
It's
doesn't
not
feel
that
there's
hard.
anything wrong with it, and neither do I.
Hold on. There's nothing wrong with sexually exploiting women and children.
It's your interpretation.
What is sexual? Can you agree? Sexual exploitation is an attempted or
That's
actual
not the
abusive. Hold on.
definition of sexual
Can you
exploitation.
agree that sexual exploitation is any actual attempted or attempted abusive position of power for sexual gratification? Can you agree with that? Yes.
In his case,
No, we're not
it's
talking about him.
abuse
In
of
general,
power.
in general, is sexual exploitation any actual or attempted abusive
It's not
position
a
of vulnerability,
gen-
power,
it's-
or trust for sexual gratification? Can you agree with that?
Each case is done on its own
No.
merits.
I'm asking you for the definition of sexual exploitation. Can you agree with the definition I provided you?
It's
Yes or
not
no?
black and white.
Dude, why are you licking the boots of someone who's a sexual exploiter? Genuinely. Do you have children?
I have children.
What if
you
Donald Trump did this to your children? How would you feel?
First of all, if your daughter's working a Broadway show and she decides that she's going to accept this to be an acceptable
No,
daily
they don't think it's.
occurrence.
Hold on. She herself, the victim herself said that's disgusting. First of all, you're blaming the victim. You're the victim herself, who's a conservative,
Not
said.
blaming her.
Hold on.
I'm
The
just saying,
victim. Hold on.
she made it
The victim
acceptable.
herself. The
You know,
victim herself said that they did not approve of this. They did not consent to this. Okay, what they consented
Okay.
to was being
All right,
viewed
then-
by the general public when they would
Well,
perform.
I wanna say
not
something.
backstage in a private dressing room. That's
can I
disgusting.
say
What if it was your
something?
daughter?
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
If in fact you're not opposed to it, you're condoling it.
What? I am opposed to all type
If-
of sexual exploitation.
Yeah,
Yes,
I'm just
including
saying
this
that
one.
if the person does not oppose it, they
They
condone
did.
it.
We can hear the victims say they oppose this. They were vulnerable. They opposed this, but they couldn't talk to anyone because it was all people who worked for
did not
Trump.
oppose it. They took 25 years to wait till you got to the White House.
The victim explained why they took so long to come forward.
They consented to it. You gotta listen. When in fact,
Hold on. You think they
the
consented
case
to it?
speaks
Hold on.
for itself.
Hold on. Do you think they
They
consented
did
to it? Yes or
consent to
no?
it by doing nothing. I'm live on TikTok.
Wow. You just said they consented.
When
by
you
doing
don't
no-
oppose it,
hold on.
when you don't oppose it,
You just said they consented by doing nothing. They consented because they didn't oppose it. That is quite literally blaming the victim, and I'll just put it in a different scenario. Let's say someone gets raped, right? They didn't consent to it. They don't oppose it, right? They are in a state of shock, right? They cannot move. They're in a state of shock, so they cannot oppose it. They physically cannot oppose it. Their body is in a state of shock, a temporary state of shock, so they cannot oppose it. What you're saying is that victim who didn't oppose it, quote unquote, because they were in a state of shock, isn't really a victim, and they actually consented to it. No. You don't understand consent. You are what men should not be. You do not understand consent. You do not know what consent means. You do not know what it means to have consent. You do not understand that. You need to deconstruct your worldview and acknowledge that if someone doesn't quote oppose it, that doesn't mean that they didn't get raped. Like I said, a state of shock. You have to deconstruct your view and acknowledge, understand what consent is. You have to understand what consent is and how it can be given. But you are just such a bad person. You don't even want to educate yourself on what consent is. Instead, you bootlick a person, bootlick Donald Trump, and say that it was a victim's fault because they didn't oppose it. It was a victim's fault because they didn't come forward about it. What about the millions of other victims of rape that don't come forward about it? What about the millions of victims that get into a state of shock and they cannot do anything about it because they're in that state of shock? In accordance with your worldview, they're not victims. In accordance with your view, they consented to that. And you are what's wrong with society. You are what allows people like Donald Trump, Bill Clinton, Jeffrey Epstein, Eric Swalwell, Hollow. You and people like you, part of the red pill community, whether you're on the younger side or older side, you guys don't understand what consent means. No man understands what consent means, including myself. Okay? Men are the issue, and we can see exactly that, because if men weren't the issue, if women were the issue, women were going on and raping people, you know what would happen in every corner of the street? This solution, this epidemic would have been solved. There would have been a specific designated spot in every corner of the street to solve men from getting raped. But because it's women, they don't care. It's every single man that doesn't understand consent. You have to deconstruct your view. As a man, you have to deconstruct your view. Understand what consent is, understand how consent can be given, and only then will you understand what consent is. Until then, you're going to uphold these horrific views where you blame millions of victims of rape. That being said, I'm going to disconnect you because that is the most insane position to say. Because they didn't oppose it, because they didn't say no, because they didn't come out, it is their fault. And I don't want to talk to someone like that.